Hello, this is Dr. Łukasz Zadrożny. Welcome to the OSTEM On Demand platform again. Today I would like to share with you some insights from the topic I'm dealing with from some time, mainly comparison of different clinical software for guided implant surgery planning. To remind myself, I'm the person who is combining clinical taking care of patients with the scientific activity at a few universities. I'm key opinion leader for OSTEM, and I'm certified speaker of Digital Dentistry Society. Then I review for some journals, as well as I'm in the board of the Journal of Dentistry Digital section. To go ahead, I will start with the backward planning, and this is the concept of planning implants from the final results to the planning. It means that first we plan the prosthesis shape, size, and the position in the oral cavity, and to this prosthesis we place an implant at the CBCT data, the cross sections, in the position which will be appropriate to support that prosthesis. And according to digital dentistry, we have a few steps on the workflow of digital dentistry or implantology. First, we acquire data from intraoral scanners or CBCT, and we can add additional scans of the face or the articulator outcome, and then we put all of that data to the virtual environment, and we deal with the software to analyze the case, to plan the case, to plan the treatment, choose the best option, and if we have it done, we can, with the software, produce some devices which will help us to make the surgery guided. And with this plan and with these devices, we go out from the virtual world to the real world, and we use CAM devices like milling machines or 3D printing devices to produce the devices like guides or templates, and then we can go to the surgery itself and make it with the aid of this created devices. And today I would like to focus on that part of the workflow, so the planning. Why this is interesting? Because for the planning we are using different software, and what I found out is that that softwares, they are very different from each other, and also with a group of friends I found a lot of voids or things which are not developed well within the software. And what I'm showing today is the outcome of the project regarding analysis of 7 clinical softwares for planning. And we did this project with Professor Vegandas Rutkuna, Sam Omar, Jafar Abdul, and Professor Ivan Darby, as well as Professor Marco Tallarico. And we checked 7 softwares, namely DentiGuide, Implant Studio, Air2Gate, Blue Sky Plan, Co-Diagnostics, Real Guide, and Exoplan, and we evaluate that softwares clinically, critically, to check what is good and what is bad, so to find the advantages and also to point some ways to be developed within the software. What I'm telling about or what I think about telling clinical software. Clinical software is the software we are using as a clinicist, as a doctors, to analyze the patient data, make the project for the treatment, and also to design the devices which we are using after during the surgery. So this part is a clinical software. And if we have it done and we get the patient acceptation after a big help of that software and all the visualization, which can help us to explain the patient what we are going to do. And when we got this acceptance, we make the surgery. And after the implants are also integrated, we checked everything and we have a good healing. We then take another step. We have to transfer clinical position of the implants or abutments to the lab, and in the lab we are dealing with another part of software. So this is clinical software and this is lab software, and we have to differentiate that softwares because they are offering different possibilities. However, for clinicians, the most important is clinical software. That is another scheme showing what is as a clinical part over here and as a lab part down of the graph. What we checked? We checked the pricing, we checked system requirements, given possibilities of the software, then user interface or friendliness of dealing with the software. Very important part, virtual libraries available, and what is also crucial is completeness of the workflow. So if we are able to plan from the beginning to the very end, deal with. And that is the graph showing the workflow we wanted to check. It's the start, it's importing the DICOM and STLs. This is the data which are needed to perform the guided surgery. Then step 2 is virtual walks-up design, crown down implant positioning, so the backward planning, surgical guide design, then designing of the temporary prosthesis. This is also sometimes very important for some cases to be able to plan the temporary prosthesis. It could be a single crown or it could be bigger superstructure. However, for some patients, it's crucial to finish the surgery with the immediate loading. What is another step is the saving of the planning as a report. It also could be used to communicate with different with our friends, with different specialists, to analyze the treatment we planned and maybe to make some corrections. After that, we need to be able to export that planning to the files which can be sent to the production for, so mainly 3D printing or milling, and that will be then work during or at the laboratory part of the workflow, because this part is clinical part, so this whole workflow is clinical workflow. And after having these parts exported, then we can go to dealing with the lab. However, in the meantime, there is also the healing time after the surgery and another registration of the position of implants with scanners or classic impressions. Why this part is important? Report part is also important because to be able to analyze the planned treatment, each clinician need to have the software which able to use and open the specific planning files or the specific planning, how to say, planning is specified to each software, and it's closed mostly to that software. So if I made a plan with Implant Studio, I need to have the Implant Studio software at my computer to be able to open the files from Implant Studio. And if I want to consult the planning with another friend, for example, orthodontist or prosthodontist, and he or she don't have the Implant Studio, they won't be able to. However, if I save the planning as a report, I can then send it as a simple PDF file to another person to be able to analyze it. So that is also quite an important step. And going to the analysis, the pricing is quite complex. And that is why I divided these softwares we checked to the two groups, Group A and Group B. And Group A is one payment products with unlimited export possibilities. So we pay product, then we mostly get some USB device dongle. We need to plug it to the computer, and with this device plugged in, we can open the software and we can deal with as many cases as we can and produce as many guides or temporaries as we can without additional payments. However, this software also requires additional yearly costs. So next years we need to pay additional license for each year of using that to get the updates, for example. And the second group is the pay-per-use software, and from our comparison is the Blue Sky Plan, Air2Gate, and Dentic Guide. However, Dentic Guide also require additional license to have also the USB dongle. And in general, that comparison is that the Group A is, we can simply call it like the expensive group of software, and Group B is the less expensive group of software, because here we are paying only for the cases we are dealing with. So if we are a beginner clinician, that pay-per-use solution could be better option. To compare it, have a look on the comparison of the prices, and as I mentioned, with the software which are licensed, we don't have the payment for any export. However, the initial cost could be quite high, like over 600 euro, over 300 euro, 2000 euro, or also over 300 euro. However, like with the very popular software on some part of the world, we only pay the initial price is zero, don't have any yearly payment. We only pay 17 euro per case, analyzed, plan, and design the guide and send it to the production. So to export the file from the closed format of the software to the open format like the STL, which is available to port it to each production device, we need to pay the payment. This payment is called sometimes credit, sometimes it's the payment, sometimes it's the coupon or something like that, but mainly it's the single payment per use, like with different things at the market today. So anyway, to compare it, it's like to reach the initial license price of the most expensive Implant Studio, we have to make 229 cases in the 378 on the Blue Sky plan, and over 400 cases with air-to-gate. This is like that. If we have something cheaper, it's still like Exoplan. It's about, I don't know, 100, 200 cases to be done with softwares to reach the price. With co-diagnostics is even cheaper, 60 to 132 cases with this kind of softwares. So the outcome of that comparison is that if you do limited amount of cases, the pay-per-use software could be more just better option for you in terms of pricing. Another thing we checked is the system requirements, and this is quite similar. However, only two software supports Mac system, and this is Blue Sky Plan and Real Guide. The others required operating on the PC computer. And what is also important, two softwares, Dentic Guide, this one, and the co-diagnostics, they don't require external graphic card, specified graphic memory. And this is important thing, because for that softwares you don't need quite big, heavy computer. So it means that you can operate the software on a smaller laptop you can bring with you to the dental office and then work at home to plan the cases. Anyway, all of them require quite strong system specification, mostly at least i7 Intel processor. Dentic mention i5 available, but the suggestions are to have quite strong systems. And this is then quite funny, because if we think about new, especially laptop computers, they are equipped with USB-C ports, but these licensed softwares, Implant Studio, Dentic Gate, Exoplan, and co-diagnostics, they require to have USB type plug plugged into the socket. So we need to have some like additional dongle to put one thing to the computer and then the license key to the port, which is not equipped with the new computers. So this is quite funny. I think that the manufacturers should switch to USB-C, or even offer some different solution to provide like the, I don't know, internet license or something to be registered with the software, but don't require this kind of dongles placed in the software. Then regarding to the possibilities, mostly when we look quite superficial at the software, they are very similar and offer similar things like importing data, working with WhatsApps, planning the implant, designing the guide. Worse is getting when we have to design the temporary prosthesis, but also surgical guide design is not so obvious. And what is also not so obvious is the crown down implant positioning, but I will come back to that later. As I said, it's superficial, because if we watch the workflow we designed to analyze that software, we have only two softwares which were able to follow the whole workflow. So from the importing of data to sending the files to production, including this design. This is Dentic Guide and Blue Sky Plan. To check these possibilities and the workflow coverage, we created two cases. Case number one is the upper, which is 5 implants planning, The incisor is like the planning of implantation, and for that implant we wanted to design temporary crown to finish the case with the immediate loading. The second case was a little bit more complicated because it's the whole arch on 6 implants in lower jaw to be restored with multi-unit abutments and arch temporary immediate loading prosthesis. And when we check the tasks and the possibilities, it's not so colorful then, and we have some places which are not available at all in the software, and it is mostly designing of the temporary prosthesis or bridge. Here was possible for the case number 1, but not possible for case number 2. And here what was given by the evaluator was the problems at the part of creating walks-up. Here was also problematic to create walks-up, and also here was problematic to design the temporary. So as we asked simple question to ourselves, is it general user-friendly? The software was evaluated quite high, so that was from 1 to 10. It's mostly 8, 9, 10. Design process of the guide was also evaluated quite nicely. However, if we go deeper, we can again find that some of parts are not supported with the software. So temporary single crown not supported for air-to-gate, not supported for co-diagnostics, as well as the full bridge, and in general real guide exoplan don't support that solution. Full arch not supported for a real guide, and temporary full arch not supported for Implant Studio. So, and then if we watch the evaluation again from 1 to 10, the points given here gets lower here, here, or here. So in general, each of the evaluator was an expert with working with the software. So each of us know his software quite good, and we are used to use that software, and we know the function. So daily we are dealing with that. However, if we have specific task given, the evaluation gets lower for some of the parts of our workflow. And what is also quite interesting is the time comparison. And if we compare the time to perform task 1 or case 1 and case 2, we have big differences. So for case 1, in general, we have the minimum of time 10 minutes, and for case 2, we have minimum time of 12 minutes, so quite fast. But the maximum, have a look, is 6 times higher. The mean, again, is quite good. However, that part is not appropriate, and we need to watch more on that part, which is CW is the complete workflow. The times given here with the marked with the star, this time not cover the whole workflow, because some of the things were not supported with the software or were very problematic. So if we want to make a real comparison of the complete workflow we wanted to check, we can compare only these 3 softwares here, it's Implant Studio for single crown design, because the case number 2 was not able to be performed completely in that software. Then we have Dentic Guide available for both cases, and Blue Sky Plan also available for both cases. What is interesting here is the difference in time of that two softwares, and it means that Blue Sky Plan is much more complicated to be used and less user-friendly than Dentic Guide. Implant Studio is actually in the middle, and from this analysis. However, it was not available for the case number 2, and that's interesting, because if we use the software, that would be nice if the software is user-friendly. And from time comparison and the analysis of the function available in the software, we find a lot of lacking things in the softwares. And what is interesting is that the pay-per-use softwares were covering the workflow, and also they are much cheaper than the licensed products. What about the virtual libraries and how they influence on the planning, and what about the availability of that libraries in the software? Because this is another very important thing, that mostly when we talk about virtual libraries, we are thinking about the libraries of the implants, so of the screws itself. However, and this is quite okay, we have them in most of the softwares, but here it's very bad. So we don't have libraries of the prosthetic components in the softwares. And when we think about it, it's a very bad thing, because we are talking about designing our cases backward. We are talking about going back from the prosthesis to the implant, but we forgot about that intermediate part, which is prosthetic abutment. And today we know from a lot of researchers from the literature, stereo studies and implant studies and digital studies, that we should cover some features of that place which influence a lot supra-implant complex and the health of the tissue around the implant, and the stability of the tissue and the aesthetics of that tissue. To sum it up, we need to have the gingival height at least of 4 mm, and then the abutment angle here should be less than 40 degrees. And this is quite simple, and with the digital planning we should include that specifics, that specification, that features in our planning. And if we would have the library of the abutments, that would be much more. And if we watch the availability of the libraries and we check the brand or the number of the libraries, we are finding quite high numbers. Maybe Air2Gate is quite specific for Megagen. However, the others are open, and we can find 14,000 components in the ExoPlan. That's the information given by the manufacturer. However, it's not true, because as I started, I was highlighting that we are talking about clinical softwares, and all of them are clinical. But some information given by the manufacturers are given together with the laboratory extension of that software. So for example, for Implant Studio, you have Implant Studio as an implant designing or planning software, and then you have Dental System, which is a laboratory software for planning, designing the prosthetic parts. The same is, for example, for Exoplan, which extension for lab is ExoCAD with a very strong, powerful software. But these components are available in Exoplan, not in in ExoCAD, not in Exoplan. And if we go deeper, we will find out that regarding healing abutments, stock abutment, straight angled T-bases, or especially multi-unit abutments angled, that components could be available, but marked in yellow here is limited to some manufacturers of the implant. So actually the availability of that components is really limited, but in most of the places you can find zero, completely no prosthetic components to be used at the stage of planning implants on the CBCT cross sections. And that is why sometimes implants are easy to be placed not in the best prosthetic position, because we don't do it through the available patterns. So to explain that, I will use some example. Together we are not plan implant or select an implant for this site, taking this kind of measurements like the length, the width, and stuff like that, and then we check the dimensions of the implant. Now we are doing that completely different. We check, we take the implant, of course we are watching the dimensions, but then we have the virtual object which we can take from the library and put it to the specific site. Then what is also important, have availability of the abutments. Here this is Denting Guide library, actually the best developed in terms of OSTEM. For example, we have multi-unit abutments, we have healing abutments, we have stock abutments, transfer bodies, we have temporary abutments, very important for immediate loading, and we have at the bottom we have a whole specification with the dimensions and the shape of the abutment. And if we think about it, when we plan the case, sure, we make the walks-up, and after that, at the cross section, when we have the outline of the crown section, we can simply from the library, so from here, we can choose appropriate abutment which has gingival height 4 and have the under 40 degree of angulation, and creates a nice space for the tissue. So instead of management of soft tissue later, when the thing is completed, we can design the proper shape and dimensions of that tissue at the planning phase of our treatment. And if we take later the post-operative CBCT, we can check the accuracy, and here you have the 5 on 5 healing abutment applied on that implant, which could be then replaced by the abutment of the gingival height 4 at least, and angulation which is narrow, and it will create a good environment for the tissue of supraimplant complex. So what I want to say right now is that backward planning today should be done from the crown, of course, but through abutment to the implant. And if we secure the optimal shape of that abutment, we will design the tissue at the healing process or the time period of after the implantation. So the planning right now we can do like that. So we create the workshop and we put an implant selected with the healing abutments, for example, or abutments we want to use at the end. For that, we design the guide, which transfer our implant positions to the clinical surgery, and then we can have very accurate, predictable results during the next years. So that's another short video. We don't plan implant like that, or we shouldn't plan implant like that, because we can have a big mistake. If we have only implant library, we can make a wrong position. If we have the shape, the size, the position of the soft tissue from intraoral scanner, it's better because we can calculate with the measurements how much here. But then if we have the workshop, we can also make the proper angulation of the implant. However, the best is when we have the prosthetic component, and it would be shown in a moment. So I need to change the angulation because it doesn't fit to the situation here. And if you turn on the abutment from the library, you can then adjust the position of the implant with the shoulder of the gingival height for abutment to the cervical region of the crown, and then through that abutment you can set the position for your implant. And of course, if you have enough tissue, I mean bone, that would be great. Or you can realize that you need to make additional surgery or GBR or something different size of the implant. So that is why that is how we can plan implant positions having the proper library. And if you think about planning, for example, on case like a full arch on 6 implants or 4 implants with angulated multi-unit abutments, and don't have this angulation included in the library, you can finish with the openings on the bridge on a site. So again, this is how expanded library let us to plan implant really optimal and safe according to the current knowledge of the implant supraclaustral complex. So very good accuracy. And this is based on the literature regarding the angle which should be given for healing abutments, on the literature about biological width, and on the literature about how to select an optimal angle of the abutment. And if we have that included in the library, it's easier. If you scan that code, you can go to the website where I give the link to the presets for Ostem implants, which I created to select optimal abutment for planning Ostem implants for denting guide software. And if you import that file, if you download it and import it to the software you can download somewhere from the website, you can plan your implant case based on the very well developed library within that software quite automatically, because if you select just the position in the oral cavity, the preset will provide you appropriate size of the implant connected with the or appropriate healing abutment, or multi-unit abutment, or temporary abutment for restoration. So you can download 3 presets for different applications, and all is designed at the basis of the current knowledge and the suggestions and the guidelines of the Ostem implant company for choosing proper size implant, abutment, or different components for a specific site in oral cavity. Also member of the digital part of the Ostem consensus meeting for that year, and that is my part to this year consensus in terms of digital part to design or to plan implants digitally through the abutments. Hopefully that would be published soon and would be available for everyone to check. Anyway, if you scan the code, you can download my presets. It's free, just licensed by the Common Creation, because I wanted, if someone uses it, just to know that I developed that part. Then, to finish somehow that presentation, I would say that sometimes we need to combine different solutions. So if we have more complex cases which requires, for example, planning of implants in different positions, or planning of some osteotomy to be done, or planning immediate loading, we sometimes need to start the planning again from the clinical software, but then we need to use additional laboratory software or even specific CAD software to design different additional parts for our complex or so-called modular guides. And what is also important, if we have the well-developed library, and this is also part of the report for the planning of the cases from the video you could see before, is like if I have the implants selected, the report gives me the information about the specific implants for specific sites, but also about the specific abutments I wanted to use on the specific site. So having that, I can simply copy that and send it to my dealer to supply me with the proper appropriate components for my surgery, which I want to plan or to do, let's say, tomorrow. So it's easier to select to first order and then select the proper implant size and abutment for specific sites according to our planning. And having that, you can finish with a nice emergence profile for your implants, and then with the stable tissue situation through the years after placing implants planned in such a way, including height and angulation of your abutment. I think that is a big step. That is why I wanted to share the comparison and the outcome we found from that comparison on the software. So unfortunately, to sum it up, a lot of softwares don't have virtual libraries for prosthetic components, and they should have it. So the next step from the manufacturers should be including libraries to the softwares and developed libraries of prosthetic components, healing abutment, and things like that, because that parts help us to design our treatment best. Then, comparing the user friendliness, availability of libraries, and the pricing and the time which is needed to plan the case, from the comparison we did, it looks like the cheaper products pay per use could be more beneficial for the single clinical person. So for the dentist, for the doctor, it could be more available because it's cheaper. It could be more available because it requires such a strong specification of the computer. It could have more features based on the libraries, and in terms of specific software, it could be less or more user-friendly, what creates the planning more or less time consuming. So the choice is yours, and I hope that the project, the whole of the project, published soon. I'm finishing reading of the manuscript, and I hope that you can soon have it published and ready to whole analysis of the data we checked. And with that information, I would like to thank you so much for your time, and yeah, have a nice day and rest of the week. So for more complex cases, not only clinical but also lab and CAD softwares could be needed, and then the cooperation with a team of the dental technician or CAD designer could, but that is more complex and require additional software and stuff. However, for simpler cases, implant placement, designing of the supracrustal implant complex after the implantation, the clinical software with a well-developed workflow and well-developed library is what you need. So thank you so much for your time. If you have any question, you can get me through the, and as I said, have a nice day.